Good afternoon, everyone. It's Maxim Fishman here. Let's talk training. I wanted to, start this channel for a while now, largely because as I've been working in training and education for over the last 18 years, there hasn't been a lot of content I've found that's particularly useful online. What I mean by useful is that I'd argue that it lacks a certain genuinity to it. Maybe that's not the right word, but honesty may be another one. I guess the biggest issue with it is everyone's trying to show you how training and education works from a corporate sense. And that's my background. I'm a corporate trainer and filmmaker and historian before that, but that was a long time ago. And one of the most unusual things about it is that I've never liked how training is delivered across a wide swath of industries and verticals. And I've worked for several, automotive, healthcare, some finance, pharmaceutical, media. And what's always interesting is that training is never seen as overly important, though everyone talks about it. And it's always delivered with the idea of everything being done quickly, checkboxed, as it were, and not a lot of other evaluation to see if it works. And the times it has gone that way where there has been some kind of assessment of training or learning, it's not entirely comprehensive. Now, that's unfortunate. I mean, that's really unfortunate, I find, because I think a lot of training across a lot of industries is like that. It's sort of given it's a secondary, tertiary tier activity that just has to be done. That being said, there is some very elaborate and quite legitimate training available. I mean, if you go into law or medicine or flight or sailing, there is quite a lot of that. But a lot of the training that companies provide their employees, outside of a couple of very few key industries, it's very general. And it's almost a rubber stamp process. Anyone who's done a WMIS program, outside of an actual, a serious laboratory, will know that it's not exactly a tough thing to do. And organizations are guilty for this. So I guess one of the reasons I want to talk about issues that are important to me about training is that we all have to do better. And I think I'm not saying I'm an absolute expert in everything. I'm even really expert in anything, to be honest. But nevertheless, I do think that there's some observations I've made over the years that could be useful to somebody. Probably the best way to look at it. And although, my experiences may differ from yours, and someone might say, oh, well, actually, my training and my organization is fantastic. It hasn't been my experience necessarily to see that. I have definitely been involved and responsible for making it serious and effective. But nevertheless, experiences may differ. And I'm only giving you one particular perspective with nuance and storytelling and the like. But I really want to take the time to explore just how interesting and unpredictable and otherwise quite fascinating the world of training and education are. So with that in mind, let's maybe define our terms. Again, everyone feels free to disagree with this perspective. It's merely mine, and I'm not quoting a dictionary or anything. But for me, training is really the process of instructing someone how to do something, and education, by contrast, is a process of instructing someone why something is done. This is at least I've told myself over the years, and others, and it seems to have worked fairly well for that. But this perspective allows me to really differentiate between the two. And I think a lot of times organizations make a mistake between identifying training, education, and informing. this is, I think, where a lot of organizations find themselves in trouble. When I mean organizations, I mean people. Organizations are, they're filled with people. People make decisions. They decide to do one thing over the other. They're very much, they act upon what they know. So, I definitely, it's not I don't cast negative aspersions toward anyone. People are doing what they can. But I think what occurs is, in many organizations, the act of informing someone is performed with the belief that that's the training. So, for example, if I tell you, let's say, sky is gray today, I'm informing you about the sky. I'm not training you about the sky, and I'm certainly not educating you about the sky, in my opinion. But I am informing you about the sky and its conditions, at least visually. This is, for example, what advertising does quite a bit. Advertising informs you. It entices you. It certainly doesn't train you. There might be some very elaborate advertising, but it doesn't train you to use things better than others, or why things should be used. If advertising were training, goodness, every day I receive a lot of training in my junk mail. Flyers galore, emails galore. It's not training, and it's certainly not education. It may be informative, but that's not the same thing. Training and education, apart from my previous definition, require a further element. They require assessment. You need to have an assessment in order to validate the knowledge transfer. This is critical, and this is what advertising doesn't do. If you can't check, it doesn't exist. My father used to say, he still says, if you know something, you should be able to explain it to someone else. Chances are, after reading an ad, you can't really relate a lot about the product to someone else other than it's on sale, it looks like this, it's available here. Even when people inform each other, let's say I read a very nice Wikipedia article, there's a lot of information there. And maybe I've retained some of it, but there's no way I can demonstrate that unless I can explain or pass along that information to someone else. So in a larger sense, that's why we need assessment to validate the knowledge transfer. Otherwise, we're absorbing information for fun, largely, because there's no stakes. We don't have to utilize the information, like history. So if I read a book on the 100 Years' War, unless I'm planning to be tested on or accept testing on it, or write an essay demonstrating my knowledge using this information, it's rather fun. I might have to read that information 3 or 4 times in order to make it sink in if I don't have a photographic memory, which I do not. But otherwise, I find that this is this is one of the challenges that organizations face, that information is provided but not assessed. And assessment is something very close to my heart, which we'll be talking about in a follow-up episode. But assessment needs to be thorough, well constructed, and will comprehensively prove the knowledge transfer. A lot of organizations don't like to do that. It puts people under strain, under stress. Everyone's busy, but yet it has to be done. If you're going to take the time to have people learn something, let them demonstrate that they understand it. Otherwise, we'll go with it in one ear and out the other, which isn't ideal, considering that, you are asking people to take time out of their day to learn something, and that learning was created by someone else. So and time is money. Let's not kid ourselves. It's also, interesting enough, definitely in my opinion, the one resource that we'll never ever get back. You spend time doing something, you're not getting that time back anywhere soon. We all have a finite amount of time in our lives. So if we're going to invest time doing something, let's make sure it's valuable and it produces the results that are really important. So anyways, this is really just the beginning of a lot of other thoughts that I have. I want to cover a number of topics, as I said, assessments, education, and training, not to mention composition of learning teams, why companies function the way they do in regards to trainings, budgeting, project management, working with instructional design. There's really a lot of different areas that I think are worth covering and discussing. Along the way, we'll have some guest speakers that I know, come onto the channel with me, and we'll talk about things, and you'll get other perspectives other than my own. So either way, it's going to be an interesting journey. So I'll try to release these episodes as frequently as I can, probably one every week. I want to put only make them look good, but it's a learning process for me. I haven't done this quite this way before, so it's going to be interesting all around. As always, please leave me your comments, your thoughts and opinions. Welcome to have any debate, discussion. It's an open forum. As long as it's about education and training, I'm all game for it. So this is Maxim Fishman, thanking you for your time, and looking forward to speaking to you again.